Hi everyone. So the thought occurred to me this week, a couple days ago, to do this video, which I will say it's the first video where I felt, or the topic of the video, I wasn't sure about. So I actually spoke to his friends, my brother's closest friends in Chicago, and they thought it was a very good idea. And they were closer to him, so I'm taking their lead and going for it. So the list that they sent, or his friend Mark sent to me, he sent 10 records, one of which I mentioned as a non-vinyl all-time favorite, and I now cannot find the CD, and that's Richard Buckner's Devotion and Doubt. My brother loved that record when that came out. He and I talked about it all the time. My brother was a massive Richard Buckner fan, bloomed Buckner's first record. He talked about all the time. He played it all the time. I remember the song Mud. He loved that song. So I replaced that with one that I knew was one of his favorites. So we do have 10. These are not in order. And, I just thought I'm sure if my brother was around, he would debate these picks. So these are his top 10 records through the eyes of one of his closest friends and me, mostly his closest friend, and my recollection of his favorites. So, Tulane, if you're watching somewhere, this is just what we think. These are not blessed by you, obviously. So, I will leave it at that and get to it. My brother and I both music became sort of central to our lives in 1994, which would have, Lane, that's my brother's name, which I think I've mentioned, would have been 23 or 24, and I would have been 20 or 21. We were both we listened to a lot of music growing up, but it was mostly sort of traditional classic rock, Springsteen, Rolling Stones, the Beatles. And then, he might debate this too, I discovered Uncle Tupelo while in college and shared it with him, and then that's when, sorry, I'm gonna put my computer to sleep. That's when sort of things really took off. I told him about Uncle Tupelo's Anodyne, then he discovered the Jayhawks Hollywood Town Hall, and things just really took off from there. So I have another brother, a half-brother, who I may ask to do a video with where he shares his 10 favorites. I think that could be fun as well. He lives on the East Coast, and he is also, just as much as us, into a lot of music. So John, if you're watching this, you're welcome to do a video with me, should you choose to. So here they are. Again, Richard Buckner's Devotion and Doubt is undoubtedly in this list, but I can't find it. So here's the one that I replaced it with, which he used to talk about all the time. And this is the Freddie Johnston record, Can You Fly? Came out, I think, in 92. Yeah, 92. Rough Trade Recordings. Via Bar None, which I think I've mentioned. I interned at Bar None Records in the summer of 1994 or 5. And it was because of that record. But if I'm not mistaken, that Lane discovered that record, Can You Fly, turned me onto it. Freddie Johnston's This Perfect World followed that, another great record. Freddie had a string of great records in that period. incredible singer-songwriter stuff. He was really close buddies. I think he still is with Marshall Crenshaw. I think they've toured together quite a bit. But Lane was over the moon about Can You Fly. I remember when Freedy put out This Perfect World and the song Bad Reputation became somewhat of a hit, I think, Lane would just still go back to Can You Fly. He had a strong allegiance to this record. The Lucky One, I remember he really loved this song Responsible and Remember Me. This is just a tremendous record. I heard that bar none may be reissuing this, which would be a great call, because it's pretty close to a masterpiece. Number 2, if I look back in the late 90s and think of the record that Lane was the most effusive about that came out during that period, when he and I started to see a lot of live music, so did my younger brother John. We actually saw this band in Columbia, South Carolina together on this tour, and Lane was he was so thrilled to be there. And this is the Jayhawks record, Sound of Lies. So this is the first Jayhawks record without Mark Olson, following Tomorrow the Greengrass, and they're similar to Freedy. I think it was a little bit of a bigger hit, the song Blue. And this was the first time that Olson was out of the band. He came back later, I think in the mid to late 2000s, and then that didn't last again. But this was a lot of debate about this, because it was Gary Loris leading the band without Olson. Some people weren't crazy about it. Lane was over the moon about this record. Trouble, Think About It, The Man Who Loved Life, Haywire, closing with Bottomless Cup, which Tim O'Regan sings, and just the absolutely beautiful Sound of Lies. Produced by Brian Paulson, who you may know has done some work with Uncle Tupelo. This is just a tremendous, tremendous record that holds up so well. The Jayhawks' Sound of Lies. Came out in 97, I believe. This is an original, which 97 on American recordings. They have a reissue. I think they came out in 2016. I have both. But I found the original years before it was reissued, and it was not an easy find. This next one, I'll just say I was thrilled to hear from his friend Mark that this was in his top 10, because it's my favorite record by this band as well. And this is Let It Bleed, not Let It Be. That's another one, Let It Be by The Replacements. I'm surprised his friends didn't put that in the top 10. Lane had a poster that I mentioned he had an All Shook Down poster and a Let It Be poster. But the Stones' Let It Bleed. Lane was a huge Stones fan. I was sort of surprised it wasn't Exile on Main Street. I remember how into that record Lane was. But, that period, the Stones just put out one masterpiece over another. And we are in alignment on Let It Bleed as our favorite Stones record. This one was a no-doubter when his friend mentioned it to me. I can remember how much Lane talked about this record and his previous band. And this is Tim Easton's Special 20. Tim Easton's former band was the Haynes Boys, a band that I'm going to mention because I have a CD. They may only have one record, but I have a Haynes Boys CD that somebody from a job, I think in 1999, loaned to me. I never gave it back to them. His name's Steven, and if you're watching this and you still want that CD, I have it, and I'm happy to mail it to you. But this is Special 20. I listened to this yesterday as I was thinking about whether I should do this video or not. It sort of inspired me to do it, and just a tremendous, tremendous singer-songwriter record. Tim Easton has a bunch of great records from this period. Highly recommend checking that one out. The song Hey Rosine, Lane was a huge fan of. Troublesome Kind, just a great, great record. This one, his friends mentioned, no surprise to me. Richard and Linda Thompson, Shoot Out the Lights. Lane and I saw Richard Thompson at the Fla Festival on Randall's Island in New York. I still have the program, and it's in like mint condition. I don't know how I could pull it, I could find it, but I'll just, maybe in the next video. It was a great festival. I remember we got there early and it was blistering hot. We kept like running to shaded areas to try and cool off, but Richard Thompson performed. Other highlights were Freddie Johnston performed. Wilco performed. I think they were doing the Mermaid Avenue songs. I don't think Billy Bragg was there because that tour fell apart, right? They had some issues. Who else? Van Morrison. It was a wonderful day. We drank a ton of beer. It was blazing hot. I remember we had to like get on buses or something to get from Randall's Island back into Manhattan, I think. Not positive, but Lane loved Richard and Linda Thompson, but especially this record. This also not a surprise, and the last few I think are his favorites. But again, I leave it open, as if any of Lane's friends are watching this, please feel free to comment, to contest my choices, or to add some thoughts. I would love to hear them. This is Neil Young's On the Beach. I have no doubt this was in his top 10. I told the story about this record. Lane and I were trying to find this forever on vinyl. We would go to record stores, couldn't find it. I think it's been reissued, and I think it's a little bit easier, maybe not easier to find these older ones, but via Discogs and the internet, you could probably, I think you can find them. But Lane found, hey buddy, my dog's looking for some attention. Lane, I shared this in a video before, but just in case you didn't watch it, Lane found this, I think in either Cincinnati or Minneapolis. No, I think it was Cincinnati. He was shocked that he found it, and he mailed it to me. I remember it took about a week. I was checking the mail every single day, and it finally arrived, and I opened it up, and the entire record was shattered. And I went to the post office and asked them what they could do, and there was nothing they could do. And I remember how heartbroken Lane was, that he thought we both finally had On the Beach, and then mine didn't make it that whatever few hour flight to get to New Jersey / New York. Excuse me. But Revolution Blues, Motion Pictures, he loved this record, and I got it now, Lane. A record I talked about that when Lane and I had that experience when he picked me up from the airport in Cincinnati and played me demos from this record. It's in both of our favorites of all time. From the whole Americana alt country movement, arguably the best record to come out of that, which is Son Volt's Trace. And I don't need to say much more. This is a masterpiece. Came out in 1995. It was, Tweedy versus Farrar then, and Son Volt, Farrar's band, sort of hit a grand slam with this one. Probably the best thing he's ever done. And he has a lot of great records, both Uncle Tupelo, Solo, Son Volt, Gob Iron. But this one, Lane and I connected over, and we would trade live shows of Son Volt, sending tapes back and forth to each other. Just a tremendous record. Excuse me. This one his friend shared was also not a surprise to me. This made my top 10. The Marat record, Let's Cut the Crap and Hook Up Later On Tonight, came out in 98 or 99. Philly band, for those who don't know. Sort of the best mix of the Replacements / Springsteen / The Clash, maybe, that you'll ever hear. For the 2-year period that Lane and I were going to Philadelphia regularly to see these guys live, and other parts of the country wherever they were playing. Saw them at the Jersey Shore once. Lane, and we saw him in Manhattan. For a 2-year period, I remember they were the best band in the world, I thought, without question. And they had 2 great records, this and Kids in Philly. They've had a few in the 2000s that were quite good as well. But this one, So it was New Year's 1999, I guess 98 into 99. Yeah, that's right. Lane and I and a bunch of his friends and a bunch of people we knew from the postcard list server, went, which is a music listserv that focused on Uncle Tupelo and all of everything that came before and after Uncle Tupelo. Lane and I saw Sunvolt at the Keswick Theater in, was it maybe like an hour outside of Philadelphia? Excuse me again. And we saw Sunvolt. They were tremendous. And I remember we drove back as quickly as we could to see Marat at the Pontiac. I think we got there around midnight, and it was right before midnight. I think we got there for when the year turned over, and it was just a wonderful night. Some great stories from that night, which I'll share another time. But thank you to our friend Steve Kirsch for hosting us that night. Take a little water. I've had this for 2 weeks. I went and got tested negative. Excuse me, a little cold. It's been lingering. So 2 more. Nick Drake's Pink Moon. This physical copy, when I was at Lane's apartment after he passed away, and I was looking through his stuff, he had a lot of people coming in and out to take things that had meaning to them. This is the first thing that I wanted, and if I had only gotten this, that would have, it would have been a wonderful thing of his to have. He loved Nick Drake so much, and especially this record. And this is sort of a box set of Pink Moon. And when I saw all of his records, I didn't know should I take them all, should I take some of them? I mean, I still have a plan, which I have mentioned, to mail some of Lane's records out to friends at various times. I still plan on doing that. For some reason, that has been harder to do. You know, I have quite a bit of his belongings, and that, I don't know, maybe the music connection, I've struggled to go through his records and start to sort of parse them out and work on sending them out to people. But I will, I think. But there's some weird attachment to these records. Not surprising. Music, right? Music and my brother. So this record, Pink Moon, just a masterpiece. And that's it. And this, when I was close with him, and you probably noticed there are some pockets, you know, family stuff that happened, which I have been writing about lately and will probably start to publish some of these stories. I mentioned that I've written a memoir, which is about my relationship with my father, and my brother is very much tied into that story. I gotta just get that out at some point, but there are some, let's just say, some considerations for other people in that book, and even if only 2 people read it, you know, I just want to be careful about how I do it. So yesterday I started to just write sort of a spin-off of some things with my brother that I've been working on potentially having a Substack newsletter. Again, this is very sensitive stuff, so I keep hesitating, but at some point I think it's worthwhile for people, even if it's just friends and family, to read some of this stuff. So I'll let you know when that's ready to go. I'll put it in the description. But this record, Lane and I used to drive around and listen to all the time. We were both massive fans of this artist. You probably know the artist. My favorite is Darkness on the Edge of Town, and I'm sure that's in Lane's top 20. But this, Wild the Innocent, the E Street Shuffle, Bruce Springsteen's second album, my recollection of Lane was this was his favorite record of all time. And his friend Mark said the same. So 7 songs. Is it 7? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7 songs. how much he loved Incident on 57th Street. Man, he would play it over and over. Kitty's Back, Sandy, New York City Serenade. This, I think, it's the one in the top 10 that I think that Lame would definitely never argue. It's definitely in his top 10, if not his number one, and I'm almost positive it was his number one. Bruce Springsteen's second record, The Wild, the Innocent, and the E Street Shuffle. That's it. Again, if Lane's friends, anyone has any comments to debate me, please do, or to add stories or thoughts. I would love to hear them. It's been almost 6 months since my brother passed, and the way I described it, actually I had dinner with a friend last night, and the way I described it to him, and I'm sure anybody who's gone through grief and I guess trauma may understand this. The first 2 to 3 months after he died, so March, April, May, a little bit of June, you sort of forget, like you get caught up in your day-to-day stuff, and somehow the thought of what happened just sort of gets compartmentalized, I guess, and then you'll just remember it. At least this is how I have responded. I'll be on a walk with my dog, or I'll be at a dinner, or I will be reading or watching the Yankee game, and you remember. And for the first 3 months, every time it literally felt like a knife to the gut. I would get nauseous. Sometimes there's a time or two that I sort of gagged, because I guess the brain just has a hard time making sense of it. And what I told my friend is that in the last month, the sharpness of that knife, it still comes. It came yesterday, once or twice, has slightly dulled. So I guess that's progress. I guess that's coming to some sort of terms. I don't really know what I'm saying here, but I share this because it seems like some of the sort of thoughts and emotions that I've shared about my brother have touched others, because I'm sure others who are reading have experienced loss, whether it's a sibling or a parent or a friend, a child. I don't, it's just a part of the gig, I guess. So I share that just in case others have felt that way, to know that I know what that feels like, and I still do. So no record I wish more people knew about in this video, but I will pick up soon. I want to send a thank you to my friend John at the Digital Gramophone for being part of the GoFundMe for the gentleman in the vinyl community who got into the car accident. I do not recall his name, but I will put the GoFundMe in my description. From what I hear, he is doing better. I had never met him. I just saw John's video on him. I will include both John's video as well as the GoFundMe for this gentleman in the description, and I hope he is improving. And thank you to John for doing some thoughtful stuff for him. You're a good man, and I look forward to meeting you someday. So thank you for stopping by, and I will talk to you soon.